Hello, everybody, and welcome to Get Sports Focus. I hope you all are enjoying the GSF 7-on-7 tournament series feature. We're going to do the awards in a little bit, but first, I have a very, very special guest joining me right now.
Get Sports Focus is brought to you by Summit Partners, leaders in growth equity investing. Weightsandbars.com. Build your home gym and shop locally from the Bay Area's best fitness equipment experts. Ike's Love and Sandwiches. Championship level sandwiches every single time. South Bay Construction, a reputation built on trust. And by Fuel Good, fueling your success. Conveniently located in Santa Clara off Homestead Road. For more info, go to fuelgoodmealprep.com.
Coach Anderson in the house.
My man. What's up, dude?
Hey, are you like sitting right in front of the scoreboard at the school right now, or what's going on?
This is a recycled 2020 Zoom background. Thank you, Eastside Union. We had to have different backgrounds, so I like switch it up sometimes. But
That's beautiful.
yeah, I was gonna switch it up, but this was a pretty cool deal. So we got like Eddie Bowler Field, I think. I can't really read it, but yeah. And I put a polo on for you, Coach. Got all dressed up today. It's unbelievable. Big day.
Looking sharp, looking sharp. I love it. For those of you who don't know, this is Coach Nate Anderson. He's a really, really good friend of Get Sports Focus. We've done stuff in the past, and I've seen him around. He's got a couple of future ballers at home.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So what? This is pretty cool because I'm excited to talk to you about some things. And but we'll start off with an introduction. I don't want to mess it up, so I'm gonna have you introduce yourself and maybe talk about your background just to get things started.
You got it. Yeah, gonna be some cool things. Get Sports Focus is announcing here in a little bit. But dude, just born and raised in San Jose, went to Lincoln High School, went to San Jose City after that, played baseball, growing up, baseball and basketball. I still think I'm a hooper when I teach PE class, and the arthritis in my right knee really doesn't agree all the time. But pushed through that. Then went to VCU on the East Coast. Overcame like a broken leg at the same like Buster Posey injury. So that's how I got the arthritis. But then I got picked up, signed as a non-drafted free agent with the Rockies after my senior year. Played for a year or two in A-ball. Lied and said I could definitely play first base, and I did it all the time in junior college, which was not the case. So technically, I played a couple positions in minor league baseball. And after that, just started scouting right away with the Rockies. Now I'm with the Royals, just as a bird dog, so you can make some calls for people. So it's kind of cool. But started coaching at San Jose City. Was a player coach for the Alaska Gold Panners, and got to watch Bill Spaceman Lee. You got to Google that one, folks, if you don't know who Bill Spaceman Lee is. He was 56 years old when he was pitching. He had one cleat and one turf. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. He was trying to sell bats to us before the game too. Like it, that's another story. But did that, came back and started coaching high school after that with Justin Oliver, who I work with in Cutting Edge right now. Coached at Saratoga, one stint at Los Gatos as assistant coach, then ended up at Lee. Started doing stuff at Lee, got a head job there in 2014 after Chris Perry stepped down. He's at Santa Clara University now. And then we really started hanging out once I got to Los Gatos as a head coach there in 2015. With those guys that are all in pro ball now, Hunter Biggie and Jake Holton, and just an amazing group of families. And they were two sport guys, football guys. So you were out there with the camera, I think, starting in 2016 when we were doing like the game of the week. I still remember being pissed off about that. Freaking Hayden King, the lefty from Midi, just shoved it up our you-know-whats. And I'm sitting here looking at Jason Peraro going, this is how the game of week's going to go. We're out of this. Like, so, but yeah, man, it was cool back then. Like we were rolling. We were always in the open. Like I said, just great families, great program, great area. But I ended up teaching at Oak Grove in the middle of that. And I didn't like leaving the kids at Oak Grove every day and driving over to a really nice part of town. So I hung it up at Los Gatos. I actually didn't coach Tommy Troy's senior year, which was really hard, but it ended up being 2020. Took over the program at Oak Grove High School from 2020 to 22, and then kind of stepped away as a head baseball coach for a little bit, kind of like you alluded to, because I got two young kids at home and wanted to be around more. And now just do travel ball and camps and clinics and plan really awesome stuff with really awesome people moving forward. So just teaching and coaching now, dude.
Man, that's a background right there. I think we could take that audio and put it on an AI thing and maybe create your Wikipedia page if you don't have one already. That's like the
Yeah.
history there.
No, I know. Hey, fun fact, I'm a history major too. It was funny.
Oh,
McSwain, I was on his yeah, I was on McSwain's podcast, and
nice.
it was so funny. I think I went off and like I just you're gonna have to keep me focused here because I can go on a tangent like crazy. And he's just like, I just see him like, man, you baseball guys can I go, dude, you forgot I was a bullpen catcher. We had to figure out things to do for hours at a time, like hopefully we wouldn't have a job till the sixth inning. That's an hour and a half down there with seeds and just your creative mind to pass the time.
Yeah. So you played catcher and some first
Yeah.
base. And
Yeah.
tell us about the position. What is the catcher in the base on the baseball field equivalent to like in other sports?
It's weird. It's like maybe like a combo of like a center and a little bit of a point guard, a little bit of a quarterback. It's different because it like kind of like an umpire. If you're doing it right, or a ref, if you're doing it right, no one knows who you are. Like you're the name of the position is what you're supposed to do. So if you're missing balls, like that's not good. So you gotta catch everything, you gotta block everything, you gotta be really tough, and you gotta be incredibly unselfish because you're an extension of the coaching staff. I mean, you're touching the ball every single pitch. So you got to know how you're getting out at least 9 guys on the other team. You have to know how to position 8 guys in front of you. You can't be, what, you got to be pretty tough. You know what I mean? Like you got to sacrifice your body. And it's kind of crazy. Like people clap for you when you block the ball when you're in little league, when you make tough plays. People clap a little bit when you're 13, 14 in high school. You get to college and like that's your job. You're supposed to just keep the ball in front. So you have to develop some sort of mindset. And I didn't play football. I played basketball in high school, but I don't know. It's kind of very unique position where you just have to have an incredible balance of mental toughness and vision. And some of the best advice I got from some of the best coaches and mentors were like every pitch is a new adventure. So you got to learn from each moment and then apply it to the next one. But I don't know. Is it a 21 Savage song when they have like the cutout and it's like, can you really, or it's like Morgan Freeman at the end is like, can you really do anything more than once? And every time I hear that, I'm like, no, you really can't. That's crazy. So it's funny. It's like listening to 21 Savage and hearing Morgan Freeman, and I went like right to catching, and I like used it in a lesson the next day. And the kid, nothing I had said to him for 3 weeks mattered. All of a sudden, I bring on a hip hop song, and he's like, "Oh, so like this?" I'm like, "All right, yeah, I guess this works." True
Oh,
story.
man. Wow. Wow. Well, I mean, somebody asked me the other day, because my son plays soccer, right? And I'm trying to train a couple of people to shoot video. And I told them, shoot a soccer game because it's the toughest thing to shoot as far as sports because of the constant action. Everything is moving and you can't miss anything because if you miss the goal, then you pretty much failed because usually they only score 1 or 2, right?
Yep.
But I told them that that's the best sport to shoot, to train, to follow action. But the hardest sport to shoot is baseball because so many things can happen every single pitch, like there's so many possibilities, and you have to, number one, know the game, and you have to know your surroundings. You have to position yourself. And the way we shoot it, it's like, it's a single camera shoot when you're shooting highlights, which I miss, by the way, because I haven't shot baseball in a while, because of they changed the rules with the CCS and all that stuff where you can't be on the field and all that stuff. But anyway, so I'm like, yeah, it's like the catcher is like a coach out there, like a player coach, and you really have to be you're like the default leader. Because
I mean, now you are like it's sorry to interrupt, like when I was in Alaska, so I was a player coach. I don't know if they still have the rule, but it's collegiate league. So I got released by the Rockies in 2008, and immediately there was an opening for a hitting and catching coach at my alma mater, SJCC, which no longer exists as a baseball program, like Mission that just got cut. It's crazy. But I go there as a player coach, but I've already played professional baseball. So I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm playing against these kids? Like, not these kids. I mean, they're all D1 athletes. They're studs. Like, they're soon to be major leaguers in that league. But there were some weird rules where, like, when I took a mound visit, the umpire would have to come with me because I was technically a coach. So it was like the weirdest thing. I was like, wait a minute, but I'm a catcher. I can't like go just talk to my pitcher. Like, no, you're a coach. I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm also the catcher. And so it was just this weird, like, I don't know. Haven't met too many other people that were actually a player coach, but it was like, it was sick to put on the resume. But the umpires were always like messing with me because I didn't know how to handle it. And I was 23 telling like up and coming college guys what to do. And I wasn't even trying to play. I wanted to coach. Like I was done. If I wanted to keep playing, you just pick up an independent team or keep playing. But two guys got broken thumbs within 2 weeks. So I ended up catching like 15 games. And I'm like,
oh,
what just happened? Like I was actually staying in an old like shack down the third baseline at the facility. I was called the village monitor. I got like an extra $850. I swear to God, $850 a month to just stay in this shack where all the other teams would stay. Like when they put the pipeline in the 50s, that's what they used. So I stayed there. I had a suite. So I had like two of them, whatever that meant, just a little more space. But the second broken thumb, I'm coaching. So I'm in my turfs. So the broken thumb happens. Umpire yells time. I see him go down. I sprint across the field. Like we're on the first base coach's box. I sprint across the field, go into my house, get my cleats on, run back in my gear, and I just jump back there and I'm catching now. It was the craziest thing in the world. I'm like, what is
you said go into my house?
I ran right into my house to get my cleats, but like it was at the field. I'm like, why did I not have my cleats that day? But
Wow.
yeah, the player coach thing was trippy, dude. But it was cool because a lot of kids that want to be leaders, you want to tell them to be a leader and you're an extension of the coach, but you're not the coach. You know what I mean? Like and a lot of kids, it's like leadership is lonely and you want to train these kids these days to be more social and, like bring people with them. But it's funny whenever someone kind of gets like, kind of takes that the wrong way, like, maybe a little arrogant and like, my stuff doesn't stink. I tell them like, hey, I've been a player coach. It's hard. I don't know too many other people that have done that, but these are the things I struggle with. And this is what I can see. So it's cool. Like my career as a player and a coach kind of put me in a position to deal with like a lot of random things that happen when you build a team, and build a program. So I think that's one of the benefits of my weird Wikipedia profile, like you said, is it set me to be a better coach.
Well, all these experiences, it's like it's the foundation, right? To where you're at now and where you're heading in the future. So is it true? Like, it seems like I've heard a lot of stories about baseball players that are in the lower levels, like the minor leagues, where they really had to grind it out, where they're staying at. It's like, what was that like? Just to kind of give us an idea. Is that true or?
Absolutely. So I'll get some stuff for you later, but they just made it possible to survive because they like bumped up I wish I had the numbers off the top of my head, but yeah, dude, I still have like receipts where you're getting like 750 a month and you're getting peanut butter and jelly. Oh yeah. No, it was like when you're at a high D1, when you're like Clemson and you get picked up and you get signed and now you're playing an A ball. I just still remember these guys. I mean, even like from VCU, like we were a mid-major D1, but we were legit. And we had a lot of guys that played in the big leagues from that team. And I just remember some guys looking at like the peanut butter and jelly and the salami, and I mean, nothing wrong with it. I crushed all that food. Like
That sounds good right now, by the way.
I was a spread killer. It was awesome. But yeah, you couldn't live on that. You just really couldn't. I mean, I would there's a obviously a huge Latin contingent in baseball for every reason that people know. Well, as a catcher, I would always have like eight to 10 like Hispanic dudes that speak Spanish. So like the two things that I learned real quick, where I'm glad I had a little bit of a background in Spanish. My brother and sister are fluent. I had a chance to be fluent in fourth grade, but I wanted to go to a school with my friends. My brother and sister went to an immersion program and they learned Spanish. I didn't, but I knew enough to like just call out pitches sometimes, like "Hey, reta aquí," like da 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 da, and like you speak Spanish sometimes, and I just being able to engage all of our pitchers, like I separated myself with like value, right? It kind of like just being on the same page. And then the second thing was I realized I loved Hispanic food more than anything in the world. I would give my friends $20 for a weekend. Like they didn't have a lot of money either. I give them $20, and then each day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, a plate with meat, rice, and beans would show up at my door, and I wouldn't have to go to Waffle House, or go to like IHOP to like, and
That's
then save
probably
like
healthier, coach. That's probably healthier.
way healthier. And they love me because they could count on money. And so like I realized I started getting 3 plates. I felt bad. Like, but I'm like, this is a great investment. Like I was like six legit plates of food for $20. This is a steal. So every weekend I was eating like a king, I thought. So at the end of the day, like I was just so happy to play professional baseball and get a chance that I didn't, until like I was out of it, I didn't even realize that, wow, we were broke. Like we didn't have any money. Like that was crazy. Like the hotels we stayed in, like on a getaway day, like they'd check us out at all the hotels except for 2 of them. And then you'd have 25 guys to figure out all their bags, where they're sitting, and 2 rooms for 25 guys until we went to the park at 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. Oh yeah, it was crazy. But
Wow.
like, yeah, it was nuts. Like I wish I could tell you all the stories, but people are still coaching and playing, so I can't use the right names. But if you've seen the movie Bull Durham, I may or may not have been part of a team that messed up the field like those guys did. So that's kind of where I can leave it. But it was crazy. Like Josh Donaldson, there is a good story attached to him. Like we had I think he's with the Yankees still, or he may have retired. But anyway, Josh Donaldson, absolute stud. But he was coming up through the Cubs farm system, and no one liked him for some reason. Like I don't like it was just a weird deal. But heck of a player, heck of a competitor. And my buddy, he used to wear like a big arm guard on his arm and then on his leg. So it was during a rain delay. We paid the announcer like $100, kind of past the hat, and we put on his song that was like, I think Nelly, Never Forget Me. And my buddy just walks up. He had his mannerisms down pat, and he put my catcher's gear to make fun of him on. He put one leg guard on it to like, do it. Same thing. And then he went up there and he had this like little shuffle. He hit kind of weird, but my buddy was like, I don't know. He's like Justin Timberlake on steroids from Florida. Like this guy just had like this vibe about him. So he did this whole thing in the pouring rain, acted like he hit a home run, ran around the bases, and then we all jumped up on top of him. This is like before a game during a rain delay. So it was a mess. It was like, there's nothing like minor league baseball because, you got 25, 30, 20-year-old men on a bus driving around the country playing baseball. Like and everything you could think of probably happened at least once.
Wow. I'm surprised they haven't really made like a really, like, how they do the Last Chance U, like
yeah,
something like that, but like minor league baseball.
they've done a couple things. Forget the name of it. They've done some things, but it was kind of crazy. The last couple of years, it's just there's so much money involved now from the
Yeah.
top down with owners, and when they started attaching everything to data, I think to justify the bottom lines, a lot of stuff went away. So like it just there have been a lot of unintended consequences, I think, from just like money and just a spotlight being on everything. And a lot of teams and programs just were cut for minor league baseball. Like a lot of people lost their jobs, and then it's been weird. So like when I try to figure out where certain levels are, I got to click around and kind of reacclimate myself again, because it's been a couple years, and like whole towns just don't have teams anymore that had teams for a while. And like, San Jose Giants used to be a different level, but they went down a level. Um, so yeah, it's just kind of baseball is a crazy, crazy world. A lot of changes.
So unlike football, because we're mainly, uh, we cover football, especially high school. Um, Baseball, you have the high school, and then the college, and then the minors, and then the pros. And then in the minor league system, there's like different levels too, right?
Yep.
There was this thing that I just saw in the news yesterday about the NCAA. Uh, it sounds like they're gonna be paying past athletes, college athletes, as part of this deal, and then moving forward, like every NCAA player is gonna get paid now, as far as like this conference or five Power Five schools, I think, something like that. I haven't read the entire thing. I'm only reading headlines, but I was thinking about baseball. I've been thinking about baseball for the last week since we started talking this earlier last week. But I'm just thinking, like, man, how has it changed? Like from maybe even like 5 or 6 years ago. Is it different now because of this whole thing with college athletes getting paid?
Yeah, it's the Wild West, dude. It's crazy. I feel like travel baseball, like this is I still think we're living like bizarre land. Like I don't know if you watch Seinfeld, but like that episode where it's like every character is the opposite, and Elaine's like trying to navigate what's real and what's
Yes.
not. Like in Major League Baseball, we start with a man on second base. Like that is a 11U international tiebreaker rule 7, 8 years ago. And I still remember being at Twin Creeks, like doing top flight, going, "What's the rule? We start with a man on second base? This is so stupid. This
I
is so
thought they do
little."
that on softball.
I They do that too. I think so. I gotta talk to Justin. Guy's in a CCS championship game today, and it's his birthday, so I gotta call him about that later. But I still remember going like these City Connect uniforms look like travel ball uniforms, right? I mean, it's clear as day that there has been a lot of issues with the uniforms. And so I'm like, that's weird. That reminds me of travel ball. And then we're starting with a man on second base. I'm like, that reminds me of travel ball. And then you start thinking about like I almost feel like in the last 10 years, it's the opposite. Like Major League Baseball should get things going down. But I feel like travel ball, like, ooh, I'm not going to be on that team. I'm going to go to that team. Like I almost feel like parents and families or whatever have impacted now everything coming up. And it's just the Wild West. Like there's way less loyalty. I saw a reel with Penny Hardaway. I think he's at Memphis with the basketball team,
Yes.
talking about how like I got guys, especially late. If you're trying to sign a guy late, you might have to sign one of your starters for like 300 racks, and your assistant coach over here is going,
Yeah.
I'm making half that. The heck? I've been here for 9 months. This dude's gonna fly in and out of here for 4 months. He's gonna freaking pocket that much. It's wrong. It's just wrong. But at the same time, like the spirit of kids shouldn't have to take financial loans out, and it shouldn't look like the Fab Five, right? Where like all of
Yeah.
a sudden, like you're paying $75 for Chris Webber jersey, and Chris Webber's not making it. Well, I don't know if he made any money, but like you know what I mean? Like it's wrong. I know they're headed the right way because they're trying to figure out the money thing. And like, yes, kids shouldn't have to struggle when you have the NCAA and all these big TV deals, and just I don't know, money screws up everything. And I think it's
Yeah.
just such a mess. I don't know the answer, but I know it's crazy. Like the
Well,
NIL stuff is just nuts.
I know. But when you said like kids shouldn't have to struggle, I get that, but they should also have to earn it, you know? I mean, I there's a high school football player that played in the Bay Area a couple of years ago, Jaden Rashada, Pittsburgh High School, 5-star QB. I believe he was offered 9.5 million by Miami, like a Miami booster to sign with Miami, and so he did. But then I don't know how long, maybe a month later, like he got 13.85 million from Florida. So he decided, well, I'm not going to Miami, I'm going to Florida. But then he got screwed because they ended up not paying him. And then he ended up in Arizona State, playing for Arizona State. Got injured midseason, and then now he's at Georgia.
That's right. That's how many kids.
Yeah,
Maybe not the money and like the amounts, but that's. I mean,
I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it when it was happening. Like, nah, that's BS. There's no way anybody would give 9.5 million to a high school kid. I don't even. It doesn't even matter how great they are, but it did happen, and there's a lawsuit right now going on. Now he's a 5-star. He's definitely one of the best in the country, but I mean, first of all, the pressure that you put on the athlete. It's like, can you 9.5? I don't even think like a lot of professional athletes make that much in their first year.
no. I mean, like it's yeah. It's just it's nuts to me that again, it's just the money thing. You just don't like. There's so much money being thrown around, and just the loyalty aspect
The
is
loyalty.
tough. Like I feel like the best job, if you wanted to coach, would be like a JUCO job. Because if you're in junior college, you can always say, hey, little Timmy, you ain't good enough, or you wouldn't be playing for me right here. But like you can also transfer anywhere. So it's like you got to be
Yeah.
careful. Like as a coach, can you drive them as hard as you want sometimes? Like where's that fine line between I don't want you to be soft, I want you to be accountable, I want you to grow more, I want you to stay humble, but how far do you push them where like other people are going to be in their ear and
Yeah.
talking to them? And that's sort of like the travel ball aspect. I really feel like it went up where now it's like everyone in college reminds me of building travel teams in like 2013. I'm like, oh, well, you should come over here. You should come over. You'll start for me. You'll bat third. You'll pitch. And I'm just like, this is
Oh my
terrible. I don't care. Hey, whoever's coming on the roster, that's what we're gonna work with. Let's go. And yeah, I don't know, man. Coaching in college is crazy because you're coaching for your mortgage. You have to have wins, but now you really do have inmates running the asylum, and it's not even that it's the kids running it. It's like you said, it's the boosters. It's the people that are not even maybe involved officially with the university
Yeah.
are are pulling all the strings.
Exactly. Oh man, yeah, you said it right there. Well, you're talking about baseball
Oh,
and football.
yeah.
Let's just do 7-on-7 since we just finished 7-on-7. I kid you not. There's a kid that I've seen play for 6 different teams. And I'm like, wait, aren't you with that team? And then, the next week he's like with another team and then with another team. He's a really good player. But I was just like, I remember talking to the parent and I'm like, hey, so I've seen your son with like at least 3 teams. So how do you do that? Oh man, well, we get a call and I mean, if he's available, we just go. I was like, oh, okay. So he doesn't really have a team. It's like, no, he plays for so and so. And then like a couple of seconds later, and so and so. He also plays for this team. And I'm like, so which team does he play for? Oh, he just loves to play. And I'm like, that's cool. And I just left it at that. But I feel like there's something there that's like, you're not okay, you're having fun, but the loyalty thing, I think for the old school people, like that's important to us,
Yeah.
like the loyalty. And now I'm starting to see it in the high school football world where kids are going from one school to the next to the next. There's a few kids out there that went to school freshman year, went to a different school sophomore year, and now they're on their junior year, and they're at another school, and it's just crazy. I don't know if that happens in other sports
Big time.
in high school, but I'm pretty sure it does. But in football, it's starting to happen, and right now those kids are standing out. But I'm pretty sure in a couple of years we won't even be able to keep up like who's who. And these are really good players too.
Right. Yeah. It's like, it's tough because, and I talked to a lot of people about this same subject because if you're product, like what's a team mean? What's the definition of a team? So like for you, it's like for like if it's a club baseball setup, like my son's team, it was hard to make that decision to be a head coach for my son, because I don't want it to be about me. But then I also realized like I don't want anyone else really coaching them at this point in time outside of a couple people, and they couldn't do it. So I'm like, I'll do it. So like we took an approach where, hey guys, we're only going to do a couple tournaments, but it's going to be more about like midweek games and practices and competition. And it was a great experience. We went 4 or 5 months. We had 13 people on the team. I hit everybody every tournament. I go, you guys are still freaking 10, 11 years old. I'm not going to go cutthroat, hit 9, try to win at all costs. And it was great. And everyone was on board. And I put so much effort into that. And then I realized, like, dude, this is it. You just got, like, you have to let people know, I want you committed. I don't want you to go and play for other teams just because they offer you. Because, like, for baseball, for me, it's the pitching thing. Like 7-on-7, you're running around, no one's hammering you. Your body should be okay. You should be able to do that, right? The human body is built to move a certain amount of time, a certain amount of days. So 7-on-7, if you're jumping around and playing and your team isn't in a tournament, that's different than the thing in baseball. Is if you're a good pitcher, when a team adds you, they're going to want you to pitch. So like I know so many guys, like with the epidemic of TJ and all this stuff, like we would take a weekend off and all of a sudden I find out someone played for someone. And I'm like, oh, pitch? He's like, oh yeah, not that much. I'm like, what does that mean? And they're like, Saturday. Well, he only threw 2 innings on Saturday and then he threw 3 innings on Sunday. And I'm like, well, not that much. Like we don't even pitch guys back-to-back days. What is not too much? You're already hiding stuff from me. Like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, on Saturday, I was like, how many pitches? You said 2 innings. How many pitches? How hot was it? Because, one pitch doesn't equal one pitch. Like a breaking ball thrown in the 7th inning with the bases loaded at Muni is a little different than like, Los Gatos against the School of the Blind or something in the 1st inning in a preseason game. Like there's different stress on that. So he's like, well, he threw 42 on Saturday. I was like, was it last Saturday? Yeah. So it was 100 degrees. Okay. So 42 pitches in 100 degrees on Saturday. And then on Sunday, when did he pitch? Oh, we had an 8 a.m. game because we lost. I go, so 8 a.m. game. So he came right back in the morning.
Wow.
I go, how many he threw? How many innings? I go, so he threw 100 pitches in 24 hours. And they're like, oh, yeah. I'm like, okay, let's not do that again.
But just the parent?
Yeah. No, the parents just like matter of factly and like, oh, and again, there was no like, no one's trying to run their kid into the ground. It's that fine line of, I want them to participate. I want them to be on their team. I want them to be happy. I want them to have fun. But then it's like, there are 2 things for me with the pitching and just like the baseball side of it. When you're hopping teams, it's like, what are we really trying to teach them about preparing them for the next level? Like if they're not going to play high school baseball and they're not very good, let them do whatever. Maybe let them throw breaking balls if they're not going to pitch, right? But if they have a chance to keep playing, like you gotta like tighten up a couple things where like, you're not running your kid into the ground. Because I know a number of people like you mentioned the 7-on-7 athlete that just 3 or 4 different teams and they pitch every weekend. And I'm like, what are you doing this for? Like at the end of the day, you're all on like portable mounds. Who knows if they're even lined up right? Who knows if these umpires are even awake half the time? Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like you're playing for teams I've never heard of. Someone's dad's uncle that got some insurance and threw a roster together and practices at a local park. And nothing against anyone like that. It's awesome. Like we need people to play baseball, but dude, it's the Wild West. To get back to that, it really is.
I'm sure it happens in all the sports because I'm familiar with wrestling. Same thing.
Right?
especially basketball. Yeah, I try to stay away from basketball because of, I really wanted to concentrate on on football. But so having done like all these tournaments and being like the manager of a team or two for our 7-on-7 group, I there's a couple of things that I kind of figured, okay, this is what I'm good at, and this is what I'm gonna stick with. And yes, you mentioned there's the adults need to be aware of this, especially if they're young, if they have young kids and they're just trying to navigate through like, which camp should I do? Should I go to this team? Should I go to this tryout? Should I go here? Should I go there? There's so many questions that I get like from all these. I just got like 5 like yesterday. Parents asking me about camps, and I'm like, so how old's your kid? Oh, he's gonna be an 8th grader. I'm like, why did you made it sound like your son's gonna be a senior? And so I had a good talk with this mom, and we talked for like an hour, and I just kind of like unloaded anything and everything that I know about high school football here in the South Bay. And I told her, I was like, look, your son is an 8th grader. Like you shouldn't be worried about that stuff right now. Just have, he could play sevens. If you want him to play tackle football as an 8th grader, that's fine. There's some really good programs out there. Santa Clara's got a great one. Los Gatos Longhorns is a good one. I'm not exactly sure how to get involved in that, but I told her I can pass her information. But when I started dealing with parents, because I'm a parent too, and my son
Right.
is a soccer player, and I learned a lot from how his mom is like trying to manage his soccer schedule and going all, because soccer is different from football and baseball. Maybe there's some similarities, but I feel like one of the best things that I could do is to talk to parents and share what I know and kind of influence them towards the right direction, to where when I come across a parent that's like just like set on like, oh no, we're gonna be on this team. Now I want him to go to this team, or I want him to to train with this coach. But why? Why would you drive like 2 hours away
Right.
to train with a group for? I mean, I'm pretty sure there's benefits to that, but I'm just looking at I'm being practical. Like, I know what that's like. And so other kids and parents sees and hears that, and their son might not be at that level, but they kind of get conned. I'll use the word con. They kind of get conned into doing it. And
It plays sometimes. That word plays sometimes.
yeah, and it you don't realize it until like a couple of years later, where you're like, okay, well, I thought the being part of this group would get me this. No, it doesn't work that way, right? You
Exposure.
have to be realistic.
Yep.
And so I don't know. I mean, when I met Cordero and Coach Romero, I think there's one thing in common, that we all have something in common. We're all dads. Obviously, we have athletes. We have kids that are athletes, and we share that. Like, we don't go out Friday nights and go to the clubs and all that stuff. There are coaches that are like that. Nothing against it, but their mindset is different. We kind of preach different things, and I feel like if I'm around these kind of dudes, like you, Coach Cordero, Coach Romero, like we share that, and the message that we preach is a little bit different from others. So with that, that's kind of like how everything changed with Get Sports Focus, to where like, you know what, I think we can make an impact by doing it this way. We're gonna stick with this. And so if we have a team and somebody decides to play for another team, we just not get rid of them, but we just tell them like, well, that's one of our rules, so we can't take you back.
Yep.
And
Hey, good
so
luck. Good luck.
yeah,
Nothing against
exactly.
it. When I see you, I'm gonna ask you how your family's doing and how your grades, you getting better. You having a good experience? Okay, cool. Nothing against
Yeah.
you. Hey, lots of teams out there. Go for it. But we'll
Yeah,
be
and
here.
at first it was like, damn man, you really in that? It's like, yeah, I mean, we have to, because we have to set the tone for how we do things. And so there was this one tournament where we went and we had 14 on the roster, only 8 showed up. So I'm like, well, we're gonna roll with the 8. These are the kids that want to be here. And we're gonna, because a lot of times I think, as coaches, trainers, whatever, you think like, oh man, I wish that kid was here. I wish so and so was here. But then, you look at the guys that are in front of you, it's like, wait a second. These guys are here. These are the guys that I'm going to concentrate on.
Yep. No,
So
dude, I think the toughest thing about like high school sports these days is like one of the biggest excuses I've heard in either football or basketball, not so much baseball, but like, because you have plays that you draw up in football and basketball. And like one of the biggest things is there's only one ball, right? So even when we talk about the Warriors or super teams, oh, there's only one ball. I'm like, well, you're right. But if you know how to share it and people know the expectations, you'll be fine. But I'm kind of always blown away by how much high school athletes and parents will complain about play calling. And like, I'm not a football guy at all. And I'm not like a high level basketball coach, but I love the game. And I feel like I have an IQ where I kind of understand movement and different things. But with football, I just laugh. I'm like, you can't call plays for ghosts. So if you're not going to practice, if you're not showing up, if you're busy cutting hair or selling food or going to the dentist or you're, quinceanera or some other things, whatever it is, whatever else is more important than practice, like, hey, we all have our personal lives. But I really feel like after 2020, it changed everyone's mentality that like they did not need to show up. And I think a lot of people are having trouble still like locking into engaging with the process it takes for a team to be great. Because I've been a part of a lot of awesome programs with different sports, and I've been part of a lot of programs that have underperformed or just not had the same success. And the things that you find in legit successful programs, attendance is mandatory. And on the other side of it, like you want the ball, you haven't been here. Like you were ineligible for 3 weeks. What do you mean you have to, what do you mean you have to miss practice this week to make grades? What do you mean? That's a thing? Like, it's not a thing. Like student athletes everywhere in the world go to practice and then they do their work. What do you mean you're going to take Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday off? Like to get your grades up? What do you mean up? You haven't been doing assignments? You haven't been good at practice? The heck are we talking about? So it's funny to me that part just I can't wrap my head around it because I don't know, like I had a chance to transfer when I was at a junior college because I had another really, really good catcher, a lot of really good catchers, but I had one specifically that I was competing with for a number of years. And I could have transferred to another school and I didn't do it because to me, just the way I was raised, like I'm not gonna give people the satisfaction of saying I'm not good enough. And that's what I would have been saying in a way if I transferred. So I said, no, I'm gonna stick it out. And whatever happened. But I ended up moving on to the next level and having a great career from someone from Lincoln High School. And I'm so glad I didn't transfer. But like these days, it's like, people don't look in the mirror enough. And just that's where the answer is. The answer is always in the mirror. That's where you can control. Like I read a great book. One of our parents at Oak Grove, I think it was Jocko, but it was Extreme Ownership. And it's just like that's what it is. Like no matter what, it's your fault. And I remember I always I had a coach that would say, guys, that's on me. That's my fault. And so what I try to do, like as a coach or a leader, is like, you pick a couple times a year because it's always your fault. Like I always felt like I never won a high school baseball game. I lost like 44. Like I thought we should have beaten every single person. I don't care who they are. We had good teams wherever I coached. And so I felt like I lost every game. I don't feel like the players lost every game. That was on me. That was my preparation. And if you can lead by example that way and it trickles down, you have a shot. But looking at programs that underperform, it's all attendance and engagement. And it starts in middle school when you just jump around and it's all about a tournament and a trophy and you're winning a championship that you won in 48 hours. Like it's not a championship. Like you won the tournament. You won the tournament. You had a great weekend. That's awesome. And not to take away from any tournament directors or anything that we do, obviously, or anyone else, but like high school is a different deal. And I feel like youth sports doesn't set up families and kids for success because also when you're in middle school, like as families, you have to run a lot of things. You have to be involved a lot
Yeah.
because not like big organizations that are just in middle school, but now you get to high school and you got a lot of rules. You got a lot of rules
Yeah.
and you have ADs and you have start dates, you have transfer rules and GPA requirements and you have teachers that need to be on the same page and there's just a whole nother layer of communication that needs to happen. And I think it's without having conversations with guys like yourself and me and Cordero to like just let them know, like you said, 30 minutes and you threw up all over them with all this information. That's needed so much because these parents are used to running club teams. Then they get to high school, and sometimes they get the Heisman from administration or other people because it's just not their place anymore to do that. It's
Yeah.
it's crazy, dude. Seriously, it's so hard to navigate. You know that. It's I mean, that's why we're needed, right? And just to talk and share info. Not that we get it perfect because we obviously don't all the time. We can always get better, but youth sports is crazy, man. And with our own kids involved now, step
Yeah.
back sometimes be like, I know what I want to say. I'm not sure how to move forward though. Like I'm a parent and a coach right now. Like,
Yeah. Sometimes I think the transfer portal was invented years ago
yeah,
when all these things were going on at the lower levels. And so now that they're at the college level, they're like, you know what? Let's come up with a way.
right. It came up. I'm like, what is happening? There's a man on second base. This is AT&T Park. What's happening?
Yeah. Oh
Like,
man.
where's he running? It still drives me nuts.
That's crazy. Well, I know you're one of the individuals that I know that really care about the community and development, and obviously you're a father and you've done a lot in the sport of baseball. And I've always thought about you as like the perfect coach. Like Coach Answer, man, he's like the perfect coach because he knows everything and he
About
knows
all that.
how to build and all that. No, it's like I'm very observant when I go to games and just see the interaction with players and parents and all that stuff. And it's cool that now we have this idea that actually you came up with, but I've been always thinking about it. And it has something to do with baseball and youth and programs and tournaments and things like that. So I'm gonna kind of just let you fly with this one, Coach. So you can talk about what's about to happen,
You got it.
what we're about to do.
Yeah, man.
This is
So
the major This is the announcement right here.
now this is six. So I mean, since 2016, we've been talking about trying to do some baseball stuff together. And basically this week, it's like we're gonna start doing camps and clinics with GetSportsFocus. I'm gonna direct all the baseball stuff. So director of operations, there you go. Just GetSportsFocus baseball. We're going to be running camps and clinics all summer long. Evan Meyer is going to be my assistant director of operations. He's been with the Oak Grove coaching staff on the baseball side this year, but he also helps coach Dom's team. So obviously, I'm letting him coach my son. Not letting him. He's the man. But moving forward, we got to check a couple boxes before this happens and everything. But we're definitely a year away from hopefully the first inaugural GetSportsFocus high school all-star game. Already talked to a couple of big dogs in the baseball world about it. People seem to be happy. Obviously a year of work ahead, but I think with the success you and Cordero and a lot of other people, Coach Harrison, Andrew, all the guys you have on staff, I think with the model you guys have to just give kids an opportunity and get them some exposure could be a cool deal. So looking at it, talking like a couple scouts too, it looks like hopefully it might be like a 2-day event. We're like on a Saturday or whatever it is. Like on a Saturday, it's more of a, it's more of a pro day where, they can, run their 40 times or whatever. They can hit BP, maybe a home run derby at PAL or something like that. But the cool thing about CCS baseball is like, it doesn't need to be only for seniors. Because I think if if you get enough pitching, everyone throws an inning, and kids also get that pro day experience on Saturday, and we send them home with some video clips to help with their scouting and get some exposure. Like it could be a really cool deal. There hasn't been a high school baseball all-star game in a while. Everyone's in CCS right now, so it's been kind of cool chatting up with people. But dude, I'm really excited to get going and see the kind of gear you're gonna. I'm a big gear guy, so I'm very excited to start wearing some stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a Piedmont now, so I gotta get rid of some
Oh,
blue.
that's right.
Yeah, it's crazy. I gotta get rid
We'll
of some.
probably see a Piedmont background next time.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, ooh. I was like, do I keep the scoreboard? Yeah, I got another week. But yeah, Alf, I'm fired up, man. Like, 2016, I just remember like I have I'm looking up, I have a bat autograph from Jake Holton that was on that team and still keep in contact with a lot of those families. So it was awesome and really important that you were involved. When I was at Los Gatos High School, I mean, Coach Cordero, I don't even know if you remember this, but he was barbecuing it for us at one of those big games you came to. Cordero was
Yeah,
cooking meat.
he
Um,
told me.
yeah, dude, but I'm excited, and I'm really excited because it's it's still going to help the South Side. Like we're going to be doing all of our stuff at Bernal Intermediate, which is right down the street from my house. But I'm pumped. I'm juiced. I was not doing anything in high school baseball really the last 2 years. I'd run an after school program through this grants for our district. So I'd help like cut the field and work with the guys a little bit on the side. But I'm excited to kind of start moving around and doing what you guys did on the football side. Just like, getting to know kids and finding out their story and getting a lot of people involved that can help make a difference for these kids. I'm freaking juiced. I've said that
Yeah,
like
no,
4 times.
I'm excited. I started off when I came to the US as a 10-year-old. Baseball was I was a Jose Canseco, Mark McGuire guy, and Walt Weiss. Those were my guys. Um, but when I played baseball, I only played like a couple years in high school. I was a catcher actually, coach.
Fun fact.
I loved it. I loved catcher because I wanted contact. It's like, no, man. It's like a lot of times those other guys, they don't get the ball. I want to get the ball all the
Yep.
time.
Yeah, the rock in your
Oh,
hand, man. Hey, you're a
I,
Walt Weiss guy?
yeah, I was a big Oakland A's fan. I still got, dude, I got a box full of baseball cards that's like sealed, and I haven't even looked at what's in there. I think I have a Ken Griffey card.
You better not say that
Maybe
my son's gonna freaking find you and take over. I swear to God, like he'd probably like pop around the corner in a second when he heard that. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, this is exciting because I think we could have done this 3 years ago, 4 years ago. But one of the things that I always tell people is like, man, it's got to be the right people to do it with.
Right.
It may not be the right time back then, but I think right now it's like I feel like this is great timing. I also feel like we want to put more spotlight on baseball, and this will get the community excited, and it's another thing to look forward to. Definitely the All-Star game. I mean, we're gonna make that happen no matter what. We're gonna make that happen, but being able to have like opportunities for the young kids to go to camps and and be around guys that are knowledgeable about the sport, who really care. And I think that's the most important part. And if I always tell people, like, I've met a lot of coaches, and one of the questions I always ask them, and yeah, you should see my DM sometimes. Like, I get coaches hitting me up. It's like, hey, would you guys be interested in doing this? Oh, we have this going on. And I like to get to know coaches. And when I meet young coaches, I always ask them, so what's your motivation, man? What's motivating you to put on this or to have this team or whatever? And I kid you not, more than half the time they'll say, "Oh man, I think it's a cash cow, man. It's like I want to make a lot of money in this." Yeah, yeah. And when what I try to do is like, look, dude, you have a special gift, you know the sport, you played the sport, but I think thinking that way is not the best thing. I think you should concentrate on this part. And if they do change their mind, then you'll see them on staff. If they don't, then they don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
because it's a little it's different because I feel as a parent, I'm starting to get calls about camps for my son. It's like, oh, we have this camp and they got this letter and it sounds really good. And my son's like, Dad, they want me. I was like, yeah, along with like 500 other kids,
right.
And so, but yeah, if we can make an impact this way where well, at least our goal is to do it the right way and, sharing the same vision, same goal, preaching the same message. I think it's, you can't beat that. I think it's going to be awesome, man.
Oh,
So,
I'm juiced, dude. I'm freaking juiced. I yeah, I'm just fired up because I started like immediately. I started writing down like coaches and ADs and people I'd want involved, and like I just start like I had to stop. Like I was just like, "Brrr," like oh, like okay, we still got a year. I gotta actually I gotta calm the heck down. This is all right. This is good. But yeah, I think like the goals of an all-star game, like one, obviously, like you want a really competitive, awesome game, and that's got to be at the forefront, right? So we have to manage pitching and get the right people in there. But the cool thing is, like, if you have a pro day on that Saturday, everyone's coming out. And what's the cool thing about baseball, like this is actually how I got my opportunity to get a Division I scholarship. They weren't there for me that day. They came to a practice. They were
mm,
there, they were there for the other catcher. And it was the day where JT Snow tried to knock over Pudge in a playoff game, and Pudge like ended it, holding the ball out on his palm. It's like this big viral moment. And I was so pissed off. I walk into the cage at San Jose City, and Lucas Gingrich is like, aha, because he was a huge A's fan. He's like, shut up, Luke. And then I just go, hey, is that VCU's here to see me too? And I'm like, who the heck is VCU? And I just go and start hitting, right? I had the best day of my life, and they weren't there for me. Like they were there for Luke. They offered Luke a scholarship. They offered me a scholarship. Luke
wow.
he ended up going to Pepperdine. I had the best day of my life, and it was out of practice, and they weren't here for me. And so like, you don't like getting back to like what that Saturday and Sunday could look like. That's kind of the fun stuff for me because again, I went to Lincoln High School. We were in the C League. Like we weren't good. You just had to keep getting better, but all those practices and all that, I think the saying is you work in the dark, or like you're rewarded in public for what you do in private, right? And so that like literally my career, I get signed out of a practice, not knowing that day was even going to happen. I came home, I only had 30 at bats my sophomore year, and I come home and I, hey dad, I got offered a scholarship today. And he's like, oh yeah, where? And I was like, he's like, what is it? A VCU. And he's like, is that D3? Freaking like, I was like, and again, that's not, he wasn't trying to insult me. I'm like, no. He goes, D2. No. And he's like, are they D1? I go, yeah. And I turn the computer and he goes, what stadium is that? I'm like, yeah. And he's like,
Wow.
you have a good day? I'm like, yeah. And so to be able to get that for someone else, dude, it's the coolest feeling in the world. Like I now being a coach and having like I was being at Tommy Troy's freaking draft party with Justin Oliver and seeing the look on his face, like when they called him, I'll never forget like moments like that, man, where it's like now when you can be along for the ride with these kids or
Yeah.
being Luke Short, like he's the Friday night starter at Cal right now, and having coached him and like just seeing these kids get opportunities, but having been there for kids that do attend, do engage, and seeing the moment where they get to live their dream and a little bit closer to the big leagues. Like it's the coolest thing. And I think this all-star game, the spirit of what we're going to try to do, man, I don't think we can miss on it because you guys like for your football all-star game, besides
3.0 GPA though
right,
requirement.
right, yes, besides the weather not cooperating, I don't know if we're gonna be able to,
It'll be in the spring summer, so I'm pretty sure the chances are slim.
right?
Wait, so Cal They're in the semis.
Yep.
When did they play? Or did they play already?
I gotta look. I gotta look. I know Cal beat Arizona, and
Mm-hmm.
Arizona had Tommy Splain, so they were in the same program at one point. And so Luke was
Stanford's
pitching
doing well too.
Stanford.
Is Stanford doing well also?
I think so. I gotta look. Honestly, I'm freaking behind right now because
Yeah.
my family's been sick, and I'm in a big AAA Memorial Day tournament. So I'm looking I'm looking at balancing 9 and 10-year-old pitching with Brandon Wright.
Yeah,
That's
it's hard to keep up with all the things going on. That's the thing. Like as the years go by, like you kind of like, all right, I got a kid over there, and I got a kid over there, and I got a kid, and then I got my kid down here.
Yep, right. I'm pumped. Like Midi's got they got SI. Who are they playing tonight? I think they're playing SI. The Midi's in the championship game tonight with Sam Ferraro, Jason Ferraro, Advent Kula, Stenstra, Yaki, and all these guys. So like I might be wearing a butterfly hat tonight at me, but I'm pumped up to go see some good baseball and talk to some
The
people about
finals is
baseball
next week, though, right? Or is it the finals is
tonight. It's
oh,
D2
tonight?
D2's tonight. Again, same thing. I got to look at the calendar. I freaking got to be better. Coach
Yeah.
Freak, if we're doing this, I can't be not knowing when the heck people are.
I'll stop asking you questions about that stuff then.
I know. I was like, I'm not good at this, so never mind.
Well, you mentioned you're a scout, so I mean you have a good eye when it comes to talent. What do you look for when the way you got recruited or the way you got your opportunity? That was just you being prepared at all
Yep.
times,
Yep.
which is one of the things that we try to tell the athletes that work with us. Like today, I was at Oak Grove. Coach Andrew was doing his combine training, and one kid really stood out. And his broad jump was high, his vertical, all his times were high. So I went on our website and I pulled up the top dog stats, the all-time stats. And I was like, if this was top dog camp right now, you'd be number 3 in this, you'd be number 2 in vertical, you'd be number 4 in shuttle. And they're like, so who's ahead of me? And I started reading out Parker 3, all these names, Jaden Green. And I was like, yeah, that's where you're at. And you're only a junior, and so hey, keep working. Whatever you're doing with Coach Andrew is working. And so being prepared, we always try to preach that. And you can only be prepared if you go to practice, if you do your homework, if you're on top of things, right? And so when you go out there, what do you look for? Do you research the guys first and then go see them, or do you just kind of like, oh, I heard they have some good players. Let me go to the practice.
The best way I could put this out is some other people that have taught me. Like one, if scouts are showing up, you already know someone's good. They got skills, they have ability, and you're there because someone else told you about them, right? So you have a lot of variables already, right? Someone told you something about someone, they have ability, you check their stats. But like in baseball, like it's funny, like a lot of parents actually run the game changer and the max preps and stuff like that. Um, which everyone knows. So like if you're a scout, you knock off 100 points on the average right away. Like, oh, I'm hitting 800. No, you're not. You're probably hitting about 400. Like right away. Like, so you're not really looking at stats too much, but you need to be aware of them. Stats can tell a story. Obviously, if a guy is like 28 of 29 stolen bases, the guy can run a little bit, right? So you show up, but honestly, I'm kind of more like if you have a youth tryout, I'm crossing people off the list first. I'm actually not looking for people. The people that are legit that separate themselves, that's easy to see. I'm crossing off people. So like this is a
Mm.
real story. I go to Saratoga High School back in like 2009 or 2010, and there was a stud there for a workout, and he just rolls up. And again, this is my opinion. It's not like this is not right or wrong, but this is just a memory. He walks up. There's another scout right next to me. Guy walks off with his shirt off. He's got like a bandana on, and people are already working, getting work in. And I'm like, oh, who are those guys? Are those starters? Like, no, they're JV guys. I'm like, okay, what time does practice start? And it was a little too close to the start time. And he kind of just waltzes in. He's like flexing. I guess he just got done with the lift. But it was just like, the vibe was just really selfish. And I had heard some things already. And I look at the scout and he's packing up his stuff. And this is as he's walking up to the field. And I was like, you out? He goes, oh, yeah, I ain't got time for that. I'm out, Nate. I'll see you later. He's like, I already kind of heard some things. So I was just, I wanted to see something else. And yeah, I'll see you later. He goes, there are 1,000 guys like that, and just walks away. So like he said, there's 1,000 guys like that. Like he didn't even see him field a ball. This was a stud. This is a dude. He played for a long time. But this MLB organization did not want to put their name on that vibe. I'm going to walk off with my shirt off, and I'm just going to be about me. And it's tough to navigate that sort of stuff, because now 15 years later, our society is all about that stuff. They're all about filters and selfies and instant gratification and DoorDash and all the stuff, right? All the stuff.
Crazy.
So like baseball, you can't DoorDash a double. Like, you know what I mean? You gotta hit the freaking thing and run a second. So like if I'm scouting someone, I'm in a good position because I've been a part of a network with just unbelievable coaches where I can reach out and ask specific questions. But then also you want to get to know the family and the kid. But honestly, a lot of parents screw it up. There's a couple young kids that I know of that have incredible, I don't know, FU ability, and they're not gonna do it because at multiple schools, whether it's the West Catholic we're talking about or next level or colleges, people already know about this parent. And we're talking about a young kid, and this kid could be unbelievable. And they ruin it. So like skills and stuff, I feel like anybody can say, oh yeah, that guy throws really hard. Like you can see that. Like there's a gun, like you just read the number. Like, you know what I mean? But what I look for is like, okay, what's going to separate you at the higher level? What's special about you? But I think the hardest one is sometimes the special part about baseball players are you're boring. So like Trevor Marino, he's the hitting coach at Lee High School. We lucked out. I threw a workout together. It was a pre-draft workout. We did it at Lee. He was at the time an all-conference shortstop at West Valley. Hadn't signed yet. I put together a workout. This is for him. Jim Marino, his dad, got me my first sub job at Los Gatos. Drew Marino is the AD now at Lee. They just lost in the CCS championship game yesterday to the Kings Academy. Anyway, just great staff over there. Well, Trevor's getting set up. Well, I called everybody because I didn't want to waste VCU's time. Had a couple of JUCOs out there, had a couple more scouts. So it was a great workout. Well, these shortstops show up from a couple of junior colleges. And I'm talking to Jim Marino, his dad, and a couple other people. I'm like, damn, I messed up. He's like, what's up, Nate? I go, I think these guys are better than Trevor. Like they look faster. They have more fast twitch. Like they're good. I'm like, what am I doing? Like I just wanted a competitive workout, but like Trevor's my guy, and I'm sweating. Like I screwed up. And so I'm not hitting the phone goal. I'm just watching. And the VCU guy's right next to me. I'm sweating. I still remember it going like, I screwed this guy. Like this was my school. I called. He flew out here, and I gave him better guys than Trevor. But I was just looking at it as in like fast twitch and explosive. But Trevor made every play, and it looked boring, and it was just routine. And if you're the shortstop, what do you need? Like, hey, Steve Nash won an MVP, didn't he? Real boring. I'm just gonna make the pass, and we're gonna score a basket. So Trevor Marino's out there, just looking like Steve Nash. Like he's not looking like freaking Penny Hardaway. And I remember after the workout, the VCU coach, Coach Palumbo, he's at Eastern Carolina now. And I'm like, hey, what do you think? He goes, so you're sweating about that other guy. And I go, oh, God, I can't hide anything. I was like, yeah, dude, he looks good. I go, he's going to look really good making 2 errors a game. I go, Trevor Marino's the dude. I'm like, really? He was like, yeah, we could put him. He's our backup shortstop. He can go to second. He can play third. I go, he's going to be boring as hell, and he's going to help us win a championship. And dude, like I don't know if he ended up wearing a conference championship there, but he signed with them, and he was just boring. But again, it looked boring because he was making the plays. It wasn't sexy. It wasn't unbelievable. Like again, this other guy was coming in hot, looked like he was just a bat out of hell with energy and passion. And Trevor's just like, just nice and easy.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know. I think it depends on like obviously what level you're scouting, but it's it's a lot. It's a lot to try to figure out, can you project someone to be good enough at the next level? Because these days, again, you have the transfer portal, right? You had all these people reclass. So like age doesn't mean the same thing it did 5 years ago, right? Coming out of high school, not too many people are recruited coming out of high school because I'm getting that transfer from San Jose State before I'm getting someone coming from Lee because I already know he already had Division I weightlifting program, nutrition. He's already played in your conference. Like if you're coaching for USF or whatever, I like this guy over here. We can plug him right in. He's a college Division I baseball player.
Yeah.
I don't know, and the unknown is what scares people, right? So I don't know about high school kids. They're young, they're still maturing. I mean, they're obviously there's some guys still coming out of high school, you know, but that I think the unknown of again the transfer portal screwed up everything because they're like the Madrigal twins came out of Oak Grove. I love those guys to death. I like literally named crows after them at our field. There are two crows that like have a nest up in the lights, and I named these two crows. That's a long story after these kids, but they're twins. So one of them's their closer, throwing 92. The other one's a catcher, and they're doing great. And like their head coach gave them some great advice, like, "Hey man, you might be a late sign because everyone's going to hit that transfer portal first. You know, it used to be a great route. Go to JUCO, get scouted, then you can go to a D1. But now, like everyone's trying to be Coach Prime and just load up with dudes, right? So I don't know, it's confusing, man. I know it's a little all over the place, but it's confusing, and that's honestly why I didn't want to be a full-time scout. Is I don't want to drive around and try to project and use your crystal ball to project 4 years in the future, because I felt like to be an awesome full-time scout, you need to know the families. And that's a tremendous amount of work. And I'm like, if I'm going to get to know families and be around baseball, I want to coach. I don't want to be a professional freaking full-time scout because the best part of it is the development. Like kids having a light bulb turn on, you know, hey, you're right, coach. I do need to go to class. Like, you're right. I do need to lift weights in the morning. Like, you're right. I should dress out in PE and run hard because I actually get a class grade for this. Like, oh, who would have thought? Right. And that's more fun to be around than say he's not good enough. He's good enough. Because like in high school, you can say yet. You'd say he's not good enough yet. You're not there yet. And if you add that yet, there's still a process you're part of. Now you talk about goal setting and you know your vision. But if you're a scout, you just say, no, you're not good enough. Like, we're not signing you. And that's way more cutthroat, you know? So it's cool to be an associate scout where I can make calls to people and say, hey, this guy's a stud, take him. I heard of this guy, and it's cool to be a resource, but it's a lot more fun to be a coach. Like it's so much more fun to know these people, you know, to know these families as people and to figure out how to like set up the best support structure around them to hopefully, you know, give them a chance like I got.
Man. Well, we'll end this with this question, and this is one of my favorite questions. As a coach, what is your goal? Like, as far as like impact, like why do you coach? Basically, is probably a better question.
Probably like two-part answer. I'd probably say leave it better than you found it. Everything, just leave everything better than you found it, and pass on everything I got from others. So I've been so lucky. Like even like in my garage, I have a picture my dad gave me. It's you know, my dad and I, and then my little league coach who passed away, and then my Mark Beck, and then my Virginia Commonwealth coach Paul Keys, who passed away. And it's those two, and then it's a picture of my dad and I. And so it's like, leave it better than you found it. If that's your mission statement, everything will play out the right way. And then you gotta recycle all the knowledge. I mean, I'm not like, it's not Michael Irvin, like, we're forgetting recipes, man. Like, that's like, there's some truth to that. Like, if you don't pass on what you know, like, what are you doing? So I just like to be able to take stuff from Sam Ferraro, Justin Oliver, Brian Aguilar, Joel, like all these guys that have taught me stuff. Like, that's the fun part, right? That's the fun part, just passing on knowledge and trying to make things better than it was before you got there.
Nice. Well, Coach, it's been more than an hour.
Yeah, see, I
That's
told you.
crazy. I said 25 minutes, but it's all good because this is going to be a nice piece that we can post, and especially for the new families that are going to join, the program, and they want to get to know you. This is a perfect piece to watch and to listen. So we'll end it with that question. But no, thank you for making the time, and I'm looking forward to having to working with you, and we're pumped over here. It's gonna be nice to finally bring baseball back to Get Sports Focus. I did a hashtag GSF Baseball, and all these things from like 2016 came up, and I was like, man, we're gonna bring it back. We're gonna bring it back some way, somehow.
Dude, hey, and you know who I had dinner with on Tuesday?
Ooh,
Antonio Garcia. He was in
oh
town.
man.
All right. So, hey, man, I got to tell you, like, thank you so much for that piece. I show that every year, and I got to fight back tears every single year when I watch that. So that's,
Dude, I'm getting goosebumps just
uh,
thinking about it.
yeah,
It's crazy because he was that family was just so cool, and I got to know him just from covering the sports, from their sports. And I know he's got a younger brother, Tyson, right? His younger brother's Tyson.
yep.
And I mean, knowing the chief of San Jose at that time was pretty cool.
Not a terrible man to know.
So, no, that's awesome. I'm pretty sure we'll see him one of these days.
Oh,
Is
dude,
he
he was
around
out.
town, or what is he up to now?
He was in town. So his wife Kylie had to go back to Kansas for graduation. I flew out. Danny and I flew out to their wedding, and like, oh, we were crying, dude. It was great. Like, Troy Mardig was there. Oh, dude, it was the sickest thing ever. But we flew out to Kansas City for their wedding. And then he came back, and we hadn't got together. So he was actually, Antonio was catching bullpens for 9 and 10-year-old baseball at Oak Grove High School, and just helping with practice. We were like getting in a fungo competition and everything. But now he's killing it. I actually want to try to get him to scouting because I work for Kansas City, and then he's in Kansas City. So we figured that out. We kind of just looked at each other like, okay, we should probably figure this out. He's like, yeah, you want to help a brother out? I go, that's a good point. But dude, he's going to be involved on some level because he's just, who he is. He's a freaking man.
He's doing well. That's good to hear.
He needed that when you did that for him, like at that time in his family, like he needed that. We all needed that. So I'll always be so thankful to you and Get Sports Focus for all the stuff you did that year. That was
I had fun with that. That was a fun piece. And what's crazy is every time the NFL draft comes on, it always reminded me of the day that he went home from the hospital, because it was totally random. It was the only time I could go. It was the only time that they were able to have me there. And then all of a sudden I'm right there, and I'm like, I'm still like trying to figure out like how this piece is gonna end, and what are we gonna do? And then all of a sudden the nurse comes in, you ready to go home? And I'm like, wait, what's going on? And then they started talking about him going home like in an hour. And so I'm like, I made a phone call. I was like, I gotta stay here for another hour. I think he's coming home, and I don't want to miss anything. Everything was shot that day.
And then you see me rolling. I just died. The wheelchair, I was dying. Like, I was freaking great.
I think that was his idea.
That was great production value. That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was awesome. And then, obviously the rehab, and, watching you work with him and the struggle. You could tell the struggle. That was one of my all-time favorite piece. Like there's so many lessons there. And the fact that we got him from sophomore year, I believe, as a football player, and you saw how he played. My dude was reckless. Like this guy was all out.
Yep.
And then the baseball game where they honored him, all that stuff just came random, dude. And then the graduation night before, I got a phone call. It's like, oh, he's graduating. It's like, I gotta get a shot at that. And talk about like being like on the go. Like that whole piece was just like everything just worked out. And I've always thought like he was one of those players that I was like, man, he's got a great personality, very respectful, always good to talk to after a game, no matter what.
Yes.
Like, he was team captain. And then I didn't even know his dad was a chief. After that CCS win and his dad was crying on the side, I was like, hey, I was just talking to him like he's just a regular. I didn't know he was the guy in charge of our city.
Dude, the craziest thing about that, real quick, about Eddie, I didn't know. So at that time, you knew who Tommy Troy was in town,
Mm-hmm.
but like we were legit. Like I don't need to go. Like I'm a freaking high school coach. I ain't gonna go recruit. Like if I want to recruit, I'll go freaking JUCO. So like I'm like it's Las Gatas High School. People are just gonna show up. Like we're gonna have 10 white dudes that are over 6'4" throwing sauce no matter what. Like we got dudes. I had no idea that Big Tommy, his dad, and Eddie Garcia were like best friends, and Tommy was like the brother of it. Like they weren't really close at the time, but I had no idea that basically that relationship that Eddie the whole time is saying, no, you ain't going anywhere else. You better be going to freaking Las Gatas to play for him. Because that's what Eddie told me down the road. He's like, hey, you know, I was trying to tell him to go here the whole time. I'm like, wait, what? You didn't know that? No, Eddie, we're freaking good. He goes, you're going to be glad you got him. I'm like, well, no, of course he's freaking good. But like, yeah, so I didn't know if you knew that connection too. So it's like.
I did. Small world, man. Everybody's connected. So, man, that's awesome. Well, I mean, all right. Thanks for doing this, Coach.
Dude,
well,
yeah, hour 25, right? That's the
something
time.
Like that.
Hour 25, 25 or hour 25.
We'll chapter it so that people can just skip around, because I believe you talked a lot about there's a lot of things that you talked about that can help people.
Right.
And this is the thing now. It's like people go about their days listening to things. So
right.
We can pass on that knowledge, Coach.
Appreciate you, man. All right. Looking forward to keep going.
All right, cool.
All right, bro. I'll see you.